Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
So, different change of plans for today, which is that we don't have to record an intro because we now have a pre-recorded intro for every episode, which, if you're listening, you've already heard. But for you, Matthew, and I know that I told you I was going to do that, but I didn't know if I told you that we don't have to record anymore, the intro anymore. So
it's funny because I was going to have my daughter log on instead of me and do the intro. Like when you got to the intro, like jump in and say her name instead of mine, because I thought it would be funny because of today's topic. But then she's outside talking to someone, so she couldn't do it.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that anymore. That we're changing topics again.
Oh, good.
No, I'm just joking. But I do have a couple things I wanted to talk about. Obviously, we got the intro, which is cool. This episode, for listeners and viewers, I think we're going to get the audio fairly cleaned up, but we're not. Neither of us is using full mic capacity. I had left my microphone in North Carolina, wasn't expecting to be recording up here while I'm in Massachusetts, but we had an emergency.
And mine just doesn't want to work.
And his just doesn't want to work. But I was expecting, we had 2 episodes ready to go for the week that this is coming out, but unfortunately, I was asked to delay those episodes by our guest, which I am respecting his wishes, so we're doing that. And so instead, we are going to record a new episode tonight, and Matthew's already alluded to it, and if you've listened to the show for a little while, oh, good job. I should have gotten but
change shirts before the call.
Nice. So tonight's episode is going to be about nepotism, and we're actually going to do nepotism this week. We're not just going to blow it off as we have 2 or 3 other times. So, all right. So, what is your?
Yeah. So first of all, can we do some nepotism?
Sure.
In the near future. Cool. Yeah. So my daughter, I think when my daughter was on as a guest, she talked about a little bit about the new organization that she's helping start. She's working with. She talked about activism in general and mentioned her org, but she wanted to come on at some point and like talk deep dive about her organization and what they're trying to do, and really a deep dive conversation about it.
Thanks.
So I said, what better time to ask you than in front of everybody while we're talking about nepotism?
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
So obviously we're pro nepotism. We've obviously taken that stance right there.
Yeah. So that is, I think, before we dive in, I want to just say one thing that's vaguely nepotism related. So I'm staying with my dad, and he
hates me so much.
And I said, if you need to come in, you can come in and interrupt the recording. We'll just pause for a second. But I said, but if you come in, mention that you hate Matthew. And he goes, "Who's Matthew?" And I was like,
"See, even I don't even exist to him."
Yeah, yeah. That was my only side tangent. It's a short side tangent for this show. So, as far as nepotism, I am torn on it. I think that there is some obvious spots where it makes sense. It needs, and I think trying to go against it doesn't make sense. But then there's other cases in which it's like, obviously you've let it run amok. But so I'm thinking of the Godfather movies. You've got, actually, you kind of have both ends of the spectrum with the Godfather movies. You got Francis Ford Coppola hiring his father to do the score for it, and it is, other than John Williams or like Alan Silvestri or the Batman. Why am I forgetting the bad guy? Danny Elfman. Other than Danny Elfman, other than those 3, I would say that the score for the Godfather movies is one of the most iconic. It's one of the
top 5 scores of all time.
And so and you got that because he hired his dad, and so it clearly it worked out. And there is something to be said for, especially maybe it's in certain business fields, you're going to have a rapport, and there is certain benefits to hiring nepotistically. But then you get the other end of the spectrum, where Winona Ryder gets injured, and you have to hire your daughter,
who is a fabulous director,
but
not
a great
a fabulous
actress,
actor.
didn't get probably didn't get enough prep time, but also just wasn't, acting's not her thing really.
I cheered when she died.
I did not, but
not in real life. She's not dead, but the character, when the character died.
I'm aware. No, I understand. So I think The Godfather.
I know but that third guy on the left downloading doesn't know.
Yeah, So I think The Godfather, the world outside The Godfather, is a perfect example. The movie The Godfather is kind of a great example too. You got Michael.
That's what I thought you were going for at first. Michael's the perfect person to take over the business. Fredo is not someone to trust with business.
Yes, it works. It works in the world of The Godfather and the behind the scenes of The Godfather. The concept works that you've got good nepotism and bad nepotism. You got Fredo knocking up cocktail waitresses left and right, or no, two at a time. And
banging showgirls 2 at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was Nepotism, everybody. 8-minute episode.
Yeah. No, I think, and I don't know the definition of the word specifically. It just, does it, I'm going to look it up. Does it just mean hiring family members, or does it add the implication of unqualified family members? Because that's where it becomes an issue. If you're saying, hey, me and my brother are going to start a business together because they're both qualified, that's different than, I'm starting a business and I'm letting my brother be the partner because he's, living on the streets as a drug addict, and then he's going to drive your business into the trash.
Right. The dictionary defines nepotism as the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. So, even me hiring you for this podcast because we were already friends is nepotism.
Yeah.
Now,
but is it nepotism or networking?
True. That's a good point. And I also think that it's interesting because there's this implication, it says with power. So I think that is also relatively, that changes the dynamic somewhat. So like if you think about in The Godfather, hiring for The Godfather, Francis Ford Coppola is working within a budget. He famously did not have a lot of power on that first movie because they were trying to fire him the whole time and he had to fight for every single thing. And maybe his dad wasn't a controversial pick. And so it was just like everyone just okayed it because, your dad clearly knows what the hell he's doing. Whereas he had to fight and use his power to get Al Pacino, like the little power that he had to get Al Pacino instead of, was it Jack Nicholson it was not Dustin Hoffman, the other guy from Woodward and Bernstein, Robert Redford. They wanted Robert Redford to be.
Yeah, that would be a great call.
Yeah, but he was a known entity.
Yeah, known as very Italian looking. James Caan is Jewish and he played an Italian, so I guess whatever.
But Jewish, you couldn't get more like corn-fed looking than
and Robert Redford doesn't look Jewish or doesn't look Mediterranean at all. It doesn't got nothing going.
Exactly. I think James Caan is a much smaller leap than, but the idea being that did he have have or exert power to do that? Whereas I would argue that by the third one, he probably did have significant more
carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. It was his movie.
Yeah,
he was probably the producer at that point.
Yeah, so I think that if we're talking about nepotism with that caveat of the power thing, then it does become problematic. But me making videos with Logan, if one of those videos blows up, that's not nepotism. This is the actor available to me. I'm the actor available to him.
But I think there's also a matter of whose money is it and whose responsibility.
Sure.
Right? You're private, you own a pizzeria and you tell your kids, hey, you're waiting tables, you're a delivery boy because I want you to work in my pizzeria. That's fine, you own it. You're managing Pizza Hut and you're just a hired manager and you hire all your kids to be in the company. That's to me an over the line nepotism because you're using someone else's budget, not your own.
True.
As opposed to when you own the business, it's your business. Do what you want, hire who you want.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah.
My wife and a company she worked for, they announced who was going to Spain for a President's Club, and she met all the criteria and didn't make it. And she was like trying to figure out why and getting to explain why, and they wouldn't come back to her on it. And then my brother worked in the same group as her. A little nepotism. He got her hired, or at least he got her the interview. She got hired. And then he got moved to another division, like randomly. And then a couple of days later, they fired her entire division. They downsized. They let the entire division go. Like her manager's manager, all like, oh, like they moved my brother to protect him. Like he didn't know that, but they put him in a place that was safe. And that's why she didn't get President's Club, because they knew already that they were letting that division go, so she wouldn't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that I'm not once I'm done with my job, whether it's by my hand or somebody else's, I want to do an episode all about corporate bullshit. But right now, I enjoy being employed.
I had a friend who worked at American Express, and they had a rule that you couldn't say, this is a while ago, I don't know if they still have it, but you weren't supposed to talk about working at American Express in social media. So she'd always talk about how she worked at a company that rhymes with American Rexpress.
Nice. Yeah.
And then she'd always say, they talk about how you're part of the family. They're a big family. He goes, but it's weird because when they don't make their numbers, they let family members go. Like most families don't do that.
Yeah. I think my family might. No.
He says with them just outside the door.
Do we have no? I'm not talking about him. Do we have? Is there a thing of reverse nepotism where you refuse to hire family members? Because I think that can work out equally. Like if I'm working in a corporate job or working for somebody else and I'm not that in control and I have a position and someone in my family wanted to come, I'd be like, no. Like I don't want you coming into my spot. Reverse nepotism.
I mean, a lot of companies don't want it. They don't like it. Like there was a position open once for my boss's boss's boss had like a admin position open, and I went in and said, hey, my wife is looking for a job. It should be great for it. And she was like, oh, I couldn't even consider her, because what if I had to fire one of you and the other one still works here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough when people are in the same department because you're both going to go on vacation at the same time. If there's a death in the family, you both be like, lose two people at the same time always, which is not a big deal if they're in very different roles. But, if you're in the same similar roles, that, if people are fighting over who's off Christmas, the two of you have to go together, because otherwise what's the use of being off?
Yeah.
But then it's like, if I have to let one of you go, whether for cause or just for downsizing, the other person's going to be a disgruntled employee. It's better not to have people in the same company.
Actually, I worked at Home Depot. So when I worked at Home Depot, I was a head cashier, and one of the other people so I got promoted with two women. The three of us got promoted because it was a shift-based thing, and you couldn't have just one; you had to have several head cashiers.
Like Pringles.
Yeah, you can't, yeah. Once you pop, the fun don't stop. But so during we'd been promoted about 6 months earlier, and I get a call from one of my cashiers, Mike, come down to lumber. They're bringing blah 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 out to in cuffs, and so I run down, like, because I'm the head cashier on duty. I don't know what the hell's going on, and they, as I get there, they're like ducking her into the cop car, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And so the manager manager's like, just go back to work. At this point, it was like 20 minutes before closing of the store for the day. She had been gone. She had been off her shift for like 3 hours. So I had assumed she had left, but she had been in the manager's office apparently. So we close. We come in the next day. Me and the other woman who had been promoted with the two of us, and we get pulled into the office, and we're like, what the hell happened? And the manager sits us down and says, I'm really sorry that we haven't been able to tell you this, because we didn't know which one of the three of you was stealing, but we knew that it was one of the three of you because it started basically the time you all got promoted. So you were all under investigation, which I don't give a shit. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I knew that.
The correct response is, at least one of us was stealing.
Yeah, she took the fall. No. So we found out she had stolen like 20 grand out of the cash registers over the course of a long period of time.
No one will notice that.
And and it was slow. and we did a lot of cash. I mean, we were doing 15, 20 grand in cash daily, per or just per my shift or whatever. But so they told us that, and they told us that they let her kind of keep going because A, they needed to be able to make sure it was her and not me or the other woman, and then B, they also wanted to like make sure it was a felony and not a misdemeanor, which
let her give her enough rope.
yeah. So they arrested her, and there was a whole big thing. Oh, nice. Hi, kitty. And
She's giant kitty.
yeah. So anyway, that the reason why I brought this up in the nepotism thing is that her husband and her father both worked the night shift restocking, and they both continued to work there for at least a year afterwards. And it was like, and I remember being like, I can't imagine working and my wife gets arrested for stealing a lot of money, not like a
a felony level money.
And then or my daughter gets arrested. It was crazy, and it was a good example of why like I wouldn't want to work there because I wouldn't. You can't not tell your family like, oh yeah, they were escorted out of work in front of me. Like I don't know, it's so weird, but
yeah, it's a good idea if you're going to do nepotism not to be a criminal. I mean, some of the best gangs were family kind of gangs.
Either one of you is a criminal or all of you are criminal. Sorry, either none of you are criminal or all of you are criminal. You can't be one of you is a criminal. I think that's a good rule of thumb when it comes to nepotism.
Yeah. So I should always ask, considering you for this position, I'm very interested, and your brother does work here. So are you both criminals?
Are you both? Or
am I allowed to ask that?
Yeah. So.
And then, of course, there's places where, like in the executive branch of the White House, where there's specifically a law forbidding nepotism in the executive branch. And you get elected president, and the first thing you say to your legal advisor is, well, what's the penalty? Like, what could they do to me? And they're like, well, there is no penalty. You're just expected to follow the law. Oh, good. I'm hiring my kids then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because either one of you is a criminal or you're all criminals.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Well, with Hunter actually pleading guilty this week, I don't know that we want.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a job at the White House. He just happens to be the son of the president.
Yeah,
and he's pleading guilty for being late on his taxes, and then Second Amendment wanted a gun.
Oh, I don't know. I've only been half paying attention.
Oh yeah, so it was 2 counts of paying late on his taxes, and then lying on his paperwork to get a gun, saying he wasn't a drug user when he was. That was his crimes.
Oh, okay.
And you think the Second Amendment fans in Congress who don't think you should have to fill out a form to get a gun wouldn't be upset about lying on the form that they don't think you should have to fill out in the first place.
They wouldn't have been upset if it was their guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But I love this saying, and we should do something about the president because of it. Like, what did he have to do with it? He didn't quash the investigation. He could have just told the Department of Justice, stop. He didn't pardon his son. He didn't do anything. He didn't do any of the things that they would do if it was them.
Yeah.
But not a good idea to hire your son. So good that he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like the previous guy did.
Yeah. And we've had kind of, even though I know it's not nepotism, we've had a bit of, I would say, national nepotism. You've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. potentially running for president. You've got George W. Bush that was president. And so we have like we love to be nepotistic for others.
Right. Right. Like we like dynasties.
Yeah. Which is weird for a country that like,
was founded on no more dynasties.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the royal, we do set a lot of royalty, and it's like not always like, oh, like Queen Bee and Jay-Z or whatever. It's sometimes it's like, no, we genuinely treat these people like royalty to some degree, like the Kennedys and the Bushes, to a lesser degree. But yeah, I watched the Arnold documentary series, and there was a lot about there was a decent amount about the Kennedys in there, and I was like, oh man,
he was a Kennedy for a while.
Yeah, a long while, basically like 35 years.
Yeah. That's a lot of affairs.
As far as we know, there's only one. I genuinely think, even, I think, did you watch the documentary at all, or no?
No.
It's pretty good. It's pretty
He
good.
did live in America during the time period, though.
Yeah. No, but his perspective, so I would say that it's less a documentary and more a docu-memoir, like, because it's all from his perspective. It's very much, his telling of stories, and there's a little bit interspersed with it, but it's significantly his perspective. And so I think that it's a docu-memoir would be the best way of putting it. But
I think it's a docu-memoir.
Yeah. It's also, I found it interesting. I genuinely thought it was a good. Let's watch the next episode every time. So there was also a great line where he's talking about how when he was up for the Terminator, they originally wanted him to be Kyle Reese, and he was like, well, what about or James Cameron was like, maybe you be the Terminator, and they were like, well, who else is being considered? And it was OJ. And the reason they didn't end up casting OJ is because no one could picture him being a killer. And Arnold says it, and the whole crew of the documentary starts like laughing, and it's like crazy to me. But
yeah, I've read things where like Arnold kept, when he was reading the scripts, calling up Cameron saying, "Make sure the Terminator does this. Make sure he does this. Like all these things. He should do this." And he finally said, "You know what? You have so many good ideas. Maybe you should just be him."
Yeah.
And then he realized, that's going to be the memorable role. It's called the Terminator. It's not called Kyle Reese.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good documentary series. And Kennedy's, it's a good term with nepotism, and but
Kennedy, I don't know how he is at all even polling as a Democrat. He's a Republican on every issue.
Is he? I don't know. All I know about him is the anti-vax stuff. So I don't know. That's enough. I'm not pro him. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah. You're not supporting him despite his anti-vax stance.
Yeah. No, I don't know anything else about him. But
he's also anti-cell phone because the 5G opens the blood barrier in your brain and makes you get diseases.
I did listen to
COVID comes from.
I did listen to Cognitive Dissonance. I didn't realize that was him that they were talking about with that blood barrier thing. I thought that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's wackadoodle shit. I will say, there was a news story on about 5G right before we started recording, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like a story about 5G, and it was a legitimate story about 5G, which is that the airplanes, they haven't been upgraded to the proper 5G software to be able to, like, for visibility and stuff, to be able to get all the stuff they need to be able to land properly in low visibility. And so there's cancellation of planes. But the headline at first was 5G causes airplane travel anxiety. And I was like, what the hell is this?
How in the world could it do that?
Yeah. And then it was a legitimate story. And it was like a non-controversial legitimate story, just like they're
with a good clickbait headline.
They're backed up. I don't even know if they meant to do it as a clickbait headline. They just like stumbled into it because I don't even know that. I don't know, like if the average person knows about the 5G conspiracy theories the way you and I do.
Yeah.
Like, I would imagine that, like, nobody that listens to our podcast, all three of them, will know at all about.
If you're on the fringe on the right, you believe the 5G. If you're on the fringe on the left, you hear about how the fringe on the right believes 5G is dangerous. Yeah. And if you ask them what 5G means, they have no idea what the G stands for. So.
Yep. Yeah. I remember, oh my God, I worked at Verizon. I think it was when we were going to 3G. I feel like it was 3G. Maybe it was 4G. I forget. I don't give a shit. I hated that job, so I don't remember. But people would come in all the time, and they'd be like, and you'd have certain phones that were 3G enabled, and everything else wasn't 3G enabled or whatever. And they'd be like, oh, this one's 3G. Do you have any 4G yet? Or do you have any secret 4G ones? And I'm like, what do you think the G stands for? It's not G forces, it's generation. It's just
like
fourth
the towers have to
generation.
be doing it, not the phone.
Yeah, like we're
like you need both.
Like, yeah, we do have 2 and 3G overlapping time frame wise because we're upgrading everything. But it's kind of like how we don't have like teleporters yet because we haven't
do you
gotten
have the
all
2026 model Mercedes in stock
yeah,
yet?
yeah, exactly. That's a better example than I couldn't think of anything. But yeah, 2026 model. It's like, or same thing with COVID-19 and well, what happened to the other 18 COVIDs?
Yeah, they don't talk about those.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine.
I think we know how to deal with it already.
A friend of mine said something about they the other 18 COVIDs weren't a big deal, and I was like, what other 18 COVIDs? He goes, well, this is COVID-19, and I was like, because it came out in 2019, and he goes, no, it didn't come out in 2020. I'm like, in America, like we're always behind.
November 2019.
Yeah. By the way, did you see?
I was at a meeting in Florida in January of 2020, and we were talking about, did anyone see people with masks? We were, on the plane, and we're all like, some people saw some Asian people with masks, but we see that wasn't uncommon anyway because they're used to that protocol. And and like a month later, we're watching the news with every case as it turns up.
Yeah. Did you see the clip that I posted from not last week for you listeners, but the episode that just aired on Friday of this podcast?
I've been clipless.
Oh, it's okay. It was the clip of us talking about Jesus being born in Bethlehem but being from Nazareth, and I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I wanted to get listens. I hashtag Jesused it, and I'm getting comments like, yeah, he was born in one place, but his hometown was another place. This isn't controversial. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I mean, you need to listen to the whole episode to get the whole context, but like,
when it's a prophecy of where he's going to be from, it's kind of important.
Yeah, they did tear us apart, and they kept calling us idiots, and I was like, I on TikTok I turned the comments off because they can still comment, I just don't see them. Because here's the thing, I'm willing to engage with people who like were not being rude about it or not being just, but I also like there's no benefit in being, if you're calling us an idiot, like you're not going to listen. But if someone who's like, oh, actually, like there were some people who legitimately debated the point, and it wasn't, and I engaged to some extent with those people. But as soon as I started seeing the comments, I was like, I fucked up. But we are getting comments and we are getting views. Unfortunately, it hasn't really translated into people downloading the whole episode, but we will see. You looking now?
I didn't know we were on TikTok. I was following you.
Oh, nice. Did you find it?
Yep.
Oh, good. Oh, yep. Loose Stools started following you. Nice.
Yep. Loose Stools, not me. Loose Stools.
Yep. Follow back. I downloaded TikTok specifically to promote because Saba was telling me, like, you got to get on TikTok. You're doing all these clips. You got to put them on TikTok. And I was like, I don't want to go on TikTok. I get it.
You're going to hire her as a social media manager.
Oh, no. If I was going to, I don't know. I don't feel like she would do it.
No, I wouldn't want to hire a Nepotism. We need to post the position to 3 external sites. And...
Yeah. So, yeah, that's true too. Our guests have all been nepotistic because I have but I don't have the option to have other guests yet. So,
but it's our company. It's not, we're not doing with other people's money. It's fine.
Yeah, it's true. If you want to be one of our guests,
we don't have a fiduciary duty.
Yeah. If you'd like to be a guest on this show and have an interesting topic, not you, I'm talking to the audience. If you would like to, you can reach out to us on Instagram. I actually email us. It's easiest because if you reach out to us on Instagram, I might think you're just commenting some shit. So email us.
Yeah, and our social media managers will see it, not us.
Yeah. My little brother is gonna be our social media manager, and we'll have him take care of it. I wouldn't hire my sister, so I had to make up a brother. But yeah, I'm going to tell a story in a second. But if you want to be on the show, if you have an actual good topic that you'd think would be interesting to talk to us about, It's talking about the big stuff at gmail.com. Back to the story I was just about to say. So for a little while, and when I say for a little while, I did stand up one time as an adult, and I was trying to do
That's
it
a
more.
very little while.
Yeah, I was trying to do it more. It was a 6-week waiting period, so you had to call every week to try to get on the roster. It took me 6 weeks to get on, and then once I got on, I didn't do well enough to get called back the next week, so I had to start the process over. So I didn't do it again. But I was writing jokes for those whole 6 weeks, and I was writing out stuff and planning stuff. And one of the things was that at the time, my dad didn't want to be talked about in any of my stuff, and he kept telling me that. And so I said, what if I just referred to a guy that's been married to my mother for longer than I've been alive? Like, what if I just say that? And he was like, yeah, that's fine.
No one will ever know.
Yeah. So, and he thought that was funny. So I almost, if I had ever made it to the stage with some jokes ready to go, those were going to be those jokes.
I had a short flirtation with stand-up. It was like amateur night on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, whatever, the local comedy club, and me and a buddy who I performed improv for decades at this point, and I had a buddy who was my musical director, and he had all these novelty songs he wrote, and he did stand-up, and we went to the amateur night. You went in the early evening and auditioned, and if you got a slot, you came back, and so we did our little audition of just a little montage of I did a little bit of my routine, and then we did an improvised song together, and then he played a little bit of one of his songs, and the guy running goes, "Okay, you're not amateurs, are you? What's your deal? Because you're way too comfortable on stage." And I said, "Well, I do improv. I don't really do stand up." And this is my musical director. His nickname is Churd.
Nice.
And the guy said, "You know what? I really want you to perform, but you're too good to be the local talent. I mean, the amateur. So we're gonna do is I'll give you a 10-minute spot at the end of all the amateurs, and I'll introduce you guys as local talent, not amateurs. So then you can be better than everybody else, and it won't look bad." And we did it like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, a combination of me doing stand-up, us doing some improv things together, and him doing his songs. And then the last time we performed, he sang, he wrote a lot of ex-love songs, and he sang a song called "You Suck and I Don't." And it's very aggressive. It's "You suck, you really suck, oh yes, you suck, and I don't." And no woman in the audience enjoyed the "You Suck and I Don't" song. I think it was the line, "It's a good thing that your head is hollow, because not only do you suck, you swallow," is the one they mostly didn't like.
Yeah.
And after that, the manager said, "Maybe you guys need to take a break from coming back here."
Nice.
And then I decided I really like stand-up anyway. I like performing in a group, which is why I didn't mind performing that what we were doing, because I did a little bit of stand-up myself, then we were together. But I like being together. I'm a teamwork kind of guy.
Yeah. There's a part of me that has always wanted to do stand-up, but as we've talked about before, like with you talking about your friends that perform comedy who don't have great social lives or family lives because of it, there was a part of me that was like, it was one thing when I was single, but I don't want to be away. I mean, I've been away from, I've seen Logan and Sarah the last week and a half nearly every day, but for like a couple of hours a day. It feels like part-time husband, part-time father, and I'm like, oh, this is, I'm having a good time because I'm staying with my dad, and so we're having a really good time. But it's 2 weeks. It's a short-term thing. If I had to do this the way that some people have to do this their whole lives, I would not be happy about it. And so it's given me a good perspective on that. And I've always known that about myself, that I didn't want to be a part-time,
part-time lover. If 18-year-old Matthew had 30-year-old Matthew's talent, I would have done comedy full time. But by the time I was good enough to do it, I was married with a kid.
Yeah. If 18-year-old Mike had 39-year-old or almost 39-year-old Mike's confidence, I'd probably be dead by now. Well, I think that my confidence now also helps because I'm smart enough to be scared shitless of everything. Whereas then I wasn't scared shitless of everything, but I was not confident in anything. So, it's waxed and waned in the right way. So Anyway,
Any other nepotism-y thoughts?
honestly, I do
You wanted
have
to do this topic for 6 months.
I know. I did. Today was just kind of a shit show, and we weren't expecting to record until this midday today. But here's the big nepotism thing that I want. Um, and I've had this dream. I'm going to put this out there. I'm not going to say any of the details. I'll tell you the details, but listeners, I don't want to give the details of my dream away. But Adam
$100 Patreon level.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a special episode that anybody who wants to pay, we'll say a $10 Patreon episode. And if you want to listen to my secret dream, it's not that it's a like this isn't being paywalled because I don't want it's embarrassing or anything. This is because I don't want to give away my dream before I can possibly make it happen. So anyway, I think we've been recording for 45 minutes. We've got 2 Patreon exclusives, maybe a second tier Patreon exclusive. I'll have to talk some people into signing up for that one. But did you have anything?
And we decided to celebrate our nepotism with planning to bring my daughter on as a nepotistic guest.
Yes. What was the topic again?
She helped form a group called Boots on the Ground Raleigh that is a community violence intervention group. They're going to work with city government and county government and try to help create programs to stop people from getting involved in violence in the first place, and then like go down where there is violence and like be there as support to the family and to the victims and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, I follow them.
So she wants to come in and talk about that wonderful program.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Change the world.
Yeah. No, I've never met a person of her age that's actually doing as much. So it's nice to see, especially when I see so many people my age who should be and aren't. I mean, obviously, I'm not doing as much, but I'm doing.
You're going to give her a platform.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool.
We also serve as stand-in wait. Cool beans.
Other than boots on the ground, what? So
we need to plug the new accounts for talking about.
Yeah,
you got like an apparel account, right?
Well, that's technically going to be Chocolate Diamond. If you want to go on, it's Chocolate Diamond Media because we formed an LLC. I'm losing track of which episode we actually mentioned that on, so we're going to mention it on all.
We mentioned that at one point, but I don't know the order these are coming out.
Yeah, they're now out of order, so we'll see. But we formed an LLC, and a way that you can support us is obviously following Chocolate Diamond Media, following this podcast on Instagram. Also, we're on TikTok if you want to find us. It's talking about the big stuff.
I found us.
Yeah, Matthew found us in like less than 30 seconds, so hopefully you will too. And that's where we're going to put clips out and stuff, and as topics come up, I'll do stuff that's unique for that. But the ways that right now that you can support us, if you don't want to spend any money, you can support us by following and downloading all these episodes. If you are okay with spending money, you have 2 options right now. One of which is you can go on Patreon, which gets you our episodes 4 days early, Monday instead of Friday. And you can it gets you exclusive stuff. So right now it's $3 a month, and it gets you typically anything where I've said, anything that gets cut, unless it's just cut because it's crappy.
Matthew's funny stuff that Mike doesn't want to look less funny than me.
Matthew's so much funnier on the Patreon than he is on the regular version. So
you go lie like that.
Yeah. So go on.
According to Sarah, Matthew's much funnier on the Patreon. This way, you're not lying; it's saying it's according to Sarah.
Yeah. So you can go on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. The third option, or to support us again with money, this is we're starting to do apparel, and so shirts, sweatshirts. We got a bunch of shit going on, and we have different logos, and that is on Instagram. You can go to Chocolate Diamond Chocolate Diamond Designs on Instagram. And you can also go on, if you want to, go on Society 6 and look up Chocolate Diamond Media. We have our Chocolate Diamond logo. Yep, here we go. There's a Chocolate Diamond logo. I'm going to also be throwing up I'm going to try to come up with something good for this podcast specifically. Yeah, I really like the look of the shirts. But we're going to be.
They want some other colors besides white because she looks bad in white.
I just did black today with white logo. So that's an option. We can do other colors. But we're going to do something for this show, but we're also doing any random like meme thing that I think of. So like right now we have one, I'll tell the story real quick. So we had a bad week at work last week, and one of my coworkers said, I can't wait to go home and take 2 Tylenol PM. And I said, today was so bad. Why are you in a rush to get to tomorrow? And she said, I'm not, I just want to microdose death. And so I was like, oh my God, I need to make a shirt out of that. So I put it down as it's 2 Tylenol PM looking pills that say PM on them, and it says take 2 and microdose death till the morning. So things like that we're going to be making into shirts. And if you buy them, it helps support the show, helps it so that we don't have to pay out of pocket for every little technological upgrade that we do to make the podcast better for you, hopefully. So we appreciate all your support. I think I plugged everything. There's so much going on right now. I've been working on a ton of different stuff, so I apologize if I forgot anything. You got anything else?
I got nothing these days. I'm gonna since we mentioned letting go of loose stools TikTok account. I'm gonna start doing more. I wrote some scripts. I just need to get my butt in gear and film some puppeteering. It just hurts my back to have to hold the puppet above my head and film. I need to be physically able to do filming for that.
We should do some blooper and loose stools and CK related merch, in which you could get a percentage of on top of what Chocolate Diamond makes, because Matthew's one of our owners. It's me, Matthew, and my friend Adam, who, if you listen to the first episode, you'll recognize. Yeah, so the 3 of us started this company.
Who's your second guest?
Wasn't that you?
Yeah.
I was going to say.
First 2 guests are now your business partners.
Yeah.
Adam kind of always was.
Adam always was going to be. But you've done more Chocolate Diamond stuff than anyone but me. Adam won't love to hear that, but it's true. Because Adam's done a little bit of the work. He's contributed a lot of times with a little bit of money. So all right, everybody. So
living 5 minutes away makes it easy to film together.
It does. But even when I was in Massachusetts, he didn't. It just he always wanted to be more of a producer than a talent. So maybe we could do it. I'd love to do an episode where the 3 of us just talk about Chocolate Diamond, but we'll have to try to figure that out once he's settled, because he's moving from Boston to Atlanta right now. So yeah,
we'll wait till he gets over the culture shock.
I mean, he's kind of lived there before. Like his wife and children were down there for about 6 months last year, living there, and he was there every other weekend. So
I had to put a toe in the water, ankle in the water.
Yeah.
He's eased himself in.
He just has a big job, so he had to get it settled, but before he could go for full time. So anyway, do you have anything you would like to say to the audience about the big stuff?
Thanks for sharing the big stuff with it. It is genetic.
Yeah, it is. Maybe we'll have to make a talk. We'll have to make talking about the big stuff shirts, and something that talk about the big stuff. Then we can have one that's like medium size, and it'll be talking about the chode stuff, and then talking about the small stuff. I think anytime I can use the word chode is a good time. So Sarah still won't let me explain the logo what it is. So what was I listened to something. I feel like it was something with Eli, but I can't remember what it was. Referring to the person referred to themselves as a human chode, and I was like, that's hilarious. So anyway, thank you again, everybody, for talking about the big stuff with us. And next week we will have more for you.